Hey, everybody, welcome to another Rainmaker podcast. And we have Mr. Rainmaker himself, John Wetmore, and he's going to be sharing with you how you can get better at sales and take your business to the next level.
What's up?
John, thanks again. Welcome back to the Rainmaker podcast, man. It's good to have you on.
What's up, dude?
Yeah,
All
what's
good.
going on, man? How's everything been for you?
Man, life is good, bro. All is good over here.
Yeah,
Nothing but
for
good.
sure. Well, I wanted to have you on again because I wanted to talk about all things sales. But I know I ask you to do this all the time, but because it's so compelling, and I know you're like Arturo, I've told this story so many times, but I love to get your backstory that then leads into this amazing concept that I cannot stop hearing because I feel like agents need to be reminded of this over and over again. So can you
Yeah,
just go back, turn back the clock, and
yeah,
let's
yeah.
start from the beginning? It was like, how did you even get into this whole game? Where it all started for you?
Man, cool. I'll give a summary, and I always tell a buddy of mine when he tries to explain my background, he's like, "Dude, John's lived like five different lives, so it's kind of complicated." So I'm gonna give the short version, and y'all can look up the deep version if you want. One day I'll put it in a book, and you can read about it all. So grew up in the hood to a single mom on welfare. Her mom, my grandmother, was single mom also. And I grew up right outside of Boston in the projects in a high rise building. And so a bunch of us little project kids running around till I was whatever in the teens. Ended up having my first child on the way myself at 16. So I beat my mom by a couple of years. And so my oldest daughter, Shaylee, is now 29. And right in that was my junior year of high school, and she was born beginning of my senior year. So I had to start working. I've never had a job before that. And I'm like, oh dang, time to be a daddy. And it's pretty normal where I grew up. A lot of people, again, my parents were teenage parents, and it was around where I was at. It's pretty sadly common. So I start working. I get a job at Little Caesars. I do that thing where you leave school to go work during my senior year, and I worked there for 4 years. Eventually started managing the joint, whatever. Left there, went and worked in a warehouse, loading trucks at night. So I did that for 4 years. About halfway through, about 2 years in, I remember figuring out kind of how the whole warehouse game worked. And we were timed to put boxes in trucks. And so I've had to work on like a pace my whole life. And in that job, if I didn't put so many boxes in a truck per hour, I got fired. And I remember looking about halfway through, dude. I was probably 22 at the time, and all these dudes that worked there that had senior. It's one of those seniority places. You work there forever because the pay was good, benefits were good. I was making like $18 an hour at 20 when I started working there. This was in late 90s. All the dudes that had worked there, it was normal for people to be there 15, 20 plus years. And all these guys, and they're my age now, they were in their 40s plus 50s. They were like beat up, knee braces, back braces, just always sore, something going on. You work in a warehouse loading hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds of stuff all night long. It catches up with you. And their whole goal in life, Arturo, was to get on. And I work nights, so I would go to
Mm-hmm.
6 p.m. and work overnight and load trucks till 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. We left when we were done.
Right.
Their whole goal, everyone on night shift, their whole goal in life, career goal, was to get on day shift. That was it. So they could work 7 to 4 and unload trucks and put them up in a warehouse where I took the pieces off and put them in a truck to go to restaurants. So they restocked the warehouse basically during the day. And that's all they wanted was to not be on night shift and work day shift. And I was like, yo, I'm in the wrong spot. That's my future. I ain't doing that. So I go to school the next 2 years I go to school, community college, get my associate's degree in accounting while I'm working full time. This time I got two kids, Shaylee and TJ. After that ends, I get an accounting job. That's when my first dive into accounting. So I get like a desk job for the first time in my life. I'm wearing khakis to work, which I hated. And it taught me some cool things. But I started doing this day job. I'm making less doing accounting than I was in the warehouse, but I had a like normal job, and I was going to climb the ladder, and that was the vision at the time. To just go get a degree and get a job like most people. So while I'm working on my accounting job during the day, I decided to get a bachelor's at night. So I went to school full time again at night. So I did 4 years, work full time, school full time. So I was never home. You know, kids were whatever. I was around. In college, a little different. You don't go every single day, obviously. So I did that, get my bachelor's. I start working for the government doing accounting, making again 30 G's a year. And now I'm like mid 20s, late 20s, whatever it was. I moved to Georgia. My wife's family at the time, not if you know, those that know now, I'm currently married to Stephanie. We've been married for 13 years, but I was married prior, and have 4 kids with my first wife. Her family got relocated to Georgia, and I couldn't afford a house up north. Like a double wide trailer was like 200 G's, and taxes were like 6 grand a year. So I couldn't afford anything. I was making 30 grand a year. So we come visit her while and we lived with her parents at the time. So they get relocated. We come visit Georgia and find out you can buy a house for 120 grand and pay 800 bucks a year in taxes. I was like, that I can afford. So I moved to Georgia, get the same government accounting job in Marietta, Georgia, but here it only paid 28 grand. So I start doing that. And then this is where like things get interesting and take a little bit of a turn in my life, dude. My uncle was a cop up north, and he did mortgages on the side. So
Right.
he got me into hustling mortgages. So he got me in the mortgage business. So I started selling. That was the first time I ever did sales. It wasn't even sales at the time because interest rates were like 2%, and I'd
Right.
refinance coworkers. But it was the first time I got into commission, like commission work. So I get in, start doing some mortgages on the side. I'm refinancing coworkers, etc. I find some coworkers coworker's brother who was an investor, but at the time everybody was an investor because you could get loans with no proof of anything. So I quit my accounting job one day, just literally walked out. I'm like, I had enough. Quit my accounting job, started doing this mortgage thing full time because you make a couple grand every time you sell one. And I find out that the broker's keeping half my commission. So I learned how to become a broker. I Google it, and this is way before all the regulation. So I figure out how to get a broker's license or whatever in Georgia, and I start instead of getting 50%, I got the whole thing. And all the people that I worked at the mortgage joint with that were 50%, I hired them all at 75%. I'm like, yo, I'll pay
Right.
you more than them. And that was my first taste of spread, right? So I make a few bucks. This is in like '06, '07.
Yeah.
Started in '06 and into '07. And those that understand know the rest of the story because it was really bad. One day, dude, it's again the first time I ever made money. We were putting, decent amount of money in the bank account anyway. I was spending it faster than it came in. Started financing a bunch of stuff. Bought a big house I couldn't afford. Bought a dope truck I couldn't. Had it done custom stuff and just stupid stuff, dude. And that '07 time frame, I don't remember exactly what month it was, but dude, one day, bro, the bank started calling and going, all those loans,
Oh
we ain't
snap.
funding them. We're out.
Whoa.
They they cut it. So I'm like 9 months in the mortgage business, quit my accounting job. I really don't know mortgages. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just kind of making it happen at the time. It was so easy. And long story short, dude, I lost everything in the next few months. I couldn't, that's when the economy blew up. The whole economy fell apart. So you couldn't even get a job. I couldn't get an accounting job. I couldn't find a warehouse job. I couldn't find nothing. At this time, I got 4 kids, no job, had to close the mortgage company. That year, '08, it went into '08. I ended up uh, getting the two house, my little baby house that I bought, and then the big house I couldn't afford. They took both of them back. The truck they took back. I filed bankruptcy and I got divorced all in '08. And
Oh wait, just hit you like a ton of bricks, huh?
man, it punched me in the face, bro. And what's crazy though, for respect, I always tell part of the story, man. End of '07 is when I met Stephanie.
Mm.
So when I met her, dude, I was staying. I say living. I wasn't really living there. It was like a temp. I was staying there because I had nowhere to live. I was staying in those pay by night motels. We pay like $20 a night, and you can stay in this little roach motel.
Yes.
That's I was there when I met my current wife. So, man, '08. messed me up, dude. I after a few months looking for work, and Stephanie helping me pay the bills, specifically child support, because I had 4 kids at this time. I get a job at a call center, nights again, taking phone calls for AT&T from like 6 p.m. to whatever it was, 2 a.m. or whatever the hours were, 3 a.m. And then I get a job at a tax joint making $8 an hour, like the equivalent of an H&R Block. It wasn't them, but it was someone similar. And I made $8 an hour during the day, and I'd work there like, I don't know, 9 to 3 or so, whatever the hours were. I know combined on those two jobs, dude, I was never home, and I was making like $400 a week. It was pathetic. Taking home. I mean,
Did
it
you
was.
just say $400 a week?
I mean, do 10 hours at 40 hours after taxes, and then $8 an hour at 15 hours a week
Ugh.
after tax. I mean, I bet you I wasn't taking home 400 or 500 bucks a week. I mean, it's like 600 gross, dude. I was probably
Yeah.
taking home $400 a week with 4 kids. You know, and this comes from, and again, I had a brief taste, but I was making over 10 grand a month in the mortgage business for just a hot minute, like six
Right.
or nine months, you know.
And going back then to $600 a week. And it's the one thing about 10K. Like, I don't know what it is about 10K, but once you get to that 10K a month, like you fight like heck to not like breaching it. If you do, ooh, you're trying to get back over that line as fast as possible.
Yeah. So man, it was tough, dude. So the next '09, I go through that. I only have to do that schedule I just said, the call center and the tax thing, for a few months, because the entire time I'm looking for accounting and warehouse work, because that's all I know. I know how to be a basic level accountant. I wasn't a CPA. I did books for a corporation in the state before.
Like bookkeeping?
Yeah, paying bills, accounts payable, dude. I on this first accounting job I had, not I had an internship at the college, but the first real job I had, my job was to do damn expense reports for the salespeople. So I had to hound these salespeople for copies of their receipts from all over the country to reconcile the Amex cards that they racked up more than I was making every month. And I had to hound them for sales receipts to do their expense reports. It was the worst job. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. So I wasn't a big accounting fan. And so some people hear accountant, they think I was some big fancy CPA. I'm like, nah, dude, I was begging people for receipts to do their expense reports. It wasn't that deep. You know. So I I do start looking back for accounting and warehouse work, because that's all I know. And I eventually, Steph's helping me apply for jobs. Thank God she had a job. Like, she has had one. Steph's had one job her whole life. She worked at this place for 25 years in the optical business. So she had owned a house, so I moved in with her pretty quick. And she helps. She started helping take care of the kids, which live with their mom mainly, but they'd come back and forth, and Steph would help. And she's been a beast. But I eventually get back into accounting. Local spa joint in Atlanta that was, funny enough, bankrupt, hired me, paid me 40 grand a year. Yep, they were in bankruptcy. So funny enough, I was so nervous about, because you couldn't. Were you looking for work then? I don't know where you were in '08. Were you okay
Oh,
then?
I was in the service industry. I had '04 got licensed. I
Okay.
was in Nashville. I was working part time at the Hilton downtown Nashville, and then I started with Aflac. So I was selling, and I had failed the health part. So I was doing life insurance, and I was driving all across Middle East Tennessee, doing that.
The whole
And
world
then
seemed like
probably
shut down to you
'08,
two.
huh?
Did the whole world seem like shut down to you two? Like, I'm not
Oh
the only
yeah,
one
yeah. It was
that
impossible to get anything.
felt that, right?
It was insane because I was just like, all right, this isn't working, and so I went back into, like, nobody was buying anything. It was just crazy, you know.
Yeah, yeah. So I get this job. I go in, and again, I'm making like $400 a week take home, dude, at these two jobs. And this accounting job offered me, this accounting joint, or this spa joint offered me the accounting job. And they're like, "Well, what do you need to make?" And I was like, 35 grand. And she looked at me like, "How about I pay you 40?" I was like, "Okay." That's how desperate I was for work, man. I was like, "I'll just pay me." And it was an hour and a half away from my house, so I had to leave at 5:30 every day, commute an hour and a half. And if you know Atlanta, dude, going an
Whew.
hour and a half means coming home is way worse.
Yes.
And if it rained, bro, who knows? It might take me 4 days to get home. It was terrible. I did it for 4 years though, and to get to where we are today, 4 years in, I'm funny enough, I got my license in 2010. I'm gonna tell the full story. 2010, I get my license. I'm 2 years into accounting, that accounting job. I get my license because when I was in mortgages, people used to approach me to do mortgage protection. Right when I was in the mortgage company, they used to solicit us to sell mortgage protection insurance. So I had kind of heard of it. So I look around it. I'm looking at mortgage things again a little bit. I want that commission back, dude. So I fall in to get my license. I answer an ad on Craigslist for a mortgage protection ad. I get my license. I get leads. I go downstairs in Stephanie's basement. I'll never forget it, dude. A little tiny desk we put in the corner of the basement, which was also uh, the kids' room. So it doubled the kids' bedroom and my office, if you will. And so I get down there, I dial leads. I made like 30 phone calls. They all told me to F off, and I quit the same day. I bounced. So 2 years, I quit, and I didn't get back into the business. 2012, that was 2010 when that happened. 2012, a buddy of mine that I hired in the mortgage industry hit me up on Facebook Messenger and was like, "Yo, what are you doing, man? It's been a while. I found this thing you'll be good at. Can you talk?" His name is Jeremy. We're still close today, and I called him, and he was like, "Insurance." I was like, "Nah, dude, I tried that. I quit that thing." And he was like, "I'm telling you." So I go down, I meet him, and he explains the business like appropriately and how it works. He related it to mortgages for me, which helped a
Yeah.
ton because he made the correlation because we were in that business together.
Right.
And I was like, oh, it just clicked different that day, dude. When he talked about the same thing, the structure, the paying people, the spread, the build, like and again, I'm 2 years past. I'm a little bit out of the depression stage. Dude, I was depressed, bro, for a while, losing everything, getting things taken
Yeah.
away. That
That's
was tough.
tough, man. That's a tough blow.
Yeah. So I was scared. But 4 years in, dude, I was ready, and timing was good. He hit me up like, dude, about a week after my license expired, he hit me up. So I was able to like renew it without retesting. It was a little late.
Oh, wow.
And August of 2012, man, I go on his back deck at his house on his porch out back, and I start dialing leads with Jeremy, man. And it wasn't all easy from there, but kind of the rest is history because I stayed in it from there on out. You
Yeah.
know,
So the reason why I like for you to tell that story is because everybody will see you right now and see the finished product, and like the story is so good, but the grit, that's my favorite part, is the grit and the grind. Like, yeah, you might have effed up some stuff, but the
yeah,
thing is that, like, you were down for a little bit, but you use that eventually. It's like, all right, I'm gonna get back better than ever, and if I get another opportunity, I'm not gonna make the same mistakes I did. I'm not gonna screw that up. I'm not gonna let myself down. I'm not gonna let my family down. I'm gonna make this work, and I'm not gonna quit until I figure it out. Right. And I love that part of the story. So let's transition into like that mentality, because I heard, man, I don't know where I heard you talk about this 40-hour thing, but it just seems so genius to me, because most people are like leaving out of the 40-hour week to go into a job because they want freedom, right?
yeah, that
And you're,
entrepreneurship crap.
yes, entrepreneurship, but you're like, whoa, wait, hold on. You may have it wrong. So let's talk about your 40-hour work week principle.
I actually, it's one of the things I hate the most is when people say, "I wish the agent had more of an entrepreneur mindset." I hate it. And I'm like, most insurance agents fail because they don't work enough, dude. It ain't because their skill. Sure, maybe their skill set isn't good. That could be also, but the majority. And I'm 11 years into this sucker now, with thousands and thousands, thousands of agents I've dealt with. The majority don't put in the work. Period. And dude, there's no one that really argues that. So, now I didn't come and the reason I hate that other thing is because I wish more people would go. I wish y'all agents would go at this thing like an employee, because most agents struggle with discipline, consistency. You know how many people I ask go like, "Can you help me be consistent? Can you?" I'm like, "What? Like how am I going to help you be consistent? Like you're the one that wakes up by yourself every day. I can't. I don't know how to give someone that piece." And people struggle with it, and I'm like, yo, when you had your job, did you not show up every day? Because I know I did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I showed up from 17 when I started at the pizza joint, 16, 17, whatever age I was. It was at that time frame, all the way to 36.
Mm.
Bro, I never didn't like just one day was like, I just ain't working today. You know what I mean? Like, do you call out sick, have a vacation? Sure. But I didn't just like not get off out of bed because I had a bad day yesterday.
Or you just didn't feel like it.
Yeah, I mean that, or I never skipped work because, you know, my wife needed me to go get groceries or my mom needed me to come fix something at her house. I've
Mm.
never missed work because someone was sick. I've never missed work because someone was having a barbecue or had a flat tire. Like I never. So now, to be clear, I didn't start thinking this way at the beginning of insurance, bro. I would when I started insurance. Remember, I used to get up. I used to leave the house at 5:30 for the job. Bro, I started sleeping on 9:30, 10. I'd work a couple days a week. I'd get up, I'd eat lunch, I'd hang out to watch Sports Center, I'd get around the dial, and eventually I'm like, what's the best time to dial? It's probably everyone gets home from work at 5:27. That's probably the ideal time to dial. And then I'd start to dial and I'm like, well, now it's dinner time. They're probably busy. I probably shouldn't dial right now. I should wait till later. Oh man, now they're getting their kids ready for bed. Everyone's getting their kids ready for bed at the same exact time. I shouldn't dial. I
Yes.
was that dude.
Well, you know what's funny about that though is because I talk to hundreds of agents in a week, and
Yeah.
it's not even like what you're saying. It's the stories though. It's like
Mhm.
every agent's got a story. You know, it's a reason why
Yeah.
not doing the
Correct.
thing, and it's like, man, like get rid of the stories and just do the thing.
Correct. So I dinked around with it, dude, for the first 2 years. Now, be clear. I always made more in this business than I did on my accounting job. I was making 40 grand. If you can't make 40 grand doing what we're doing, I just, bro, you're doing something really wrong. That was not good. I was getting kicked out of houses. I'm not a sales guy. I was getting hung up on a lot. I was running like 10 appointments a week, dude, and I made 60 G's part-time my first year. And I'm not like an elite closer. I just worked every week. I never took a week off. You know what I'm saying? Again, you go on an occasional vacation, sure. My first few years in insurance, I would take either week before or week after Christmas. I'd stay home because I had my kids that whole week. But I'd make up for it. But my point is, what really happened, dude, again, even in insurance, if you make 60, 80, 100 grand, you have expenses, you have leads, you travel, you got whatever going on. It's inconsistent. You get a chargeback. Like the money don't flow even. You ain't getting paid, whatever 100 grand is a week. You ain't getting paid, $1,242.57 every week. Y'all know it don't work that way. 1 week you make 3 grand, 1 week you make zero. It can be super inconsistent, especially when your schedule's inconsistent. And then, the chargeback hits when you got to buy leads. It's like, oh, dang. Like, I got you. So I was doing okay relative to my previous career, but I was still paycheck to paycheck, dude. I still had to say no to my kids a lot. I still couldn't sign them up to a bunch of sports. I still couldn't take them on a nice vacation. I still couldn't do much. We lived in an 800 square foot house with 10-year-old beat up cars. I was just living, man. It
Mm.
was just like a job. But I was watching people in the industry, man, on stages. Y'all all see us. And I'm one of like a zillion people making good money in this industry. This is not unique, but you see people on stages and doing trainings and talking about how it's changed their life, and you see them all. And then you got to decide, like, are they that different or are they doing something different? Like, what's the rub, you know? And I was struggling with some stuff financially. I had child support. When I was in the mortgage business is when I did the divorce. So I had alimony that got deferred 5 years. So they said, you got to pay alimony. I'm like, dude, I make freaking $400 a week. They're like, all right, well, you have the ability to make money. We'll push it off 5 years. I'm like, all
Mm.
right, I just want divorce. Just I'll sign it, all good, whatever. And I just kind of put it back there. Well, that 5 year mark came up early first quarter 2015. I get a letter. Hey, it's time to start paying. You're late on your alimony. And I was at that time watching a lot of events, watching a lot of elite um, insurance producers, builders making good money, multiple six figures, talking about paying off debts, changing their family's life. And I wanted that, man. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to be telling my story. I wanted my kids to live different. And I believe, man, the people on stage, I'm like, if they can do it, why the hell can't I? Like, why not me? You know? And so I get that letter, and I lose my shit. I apologize if I'm not supposed to cuss, but I did lose my shit. And and shortly after, my mentor was there. It was a dial day at the office, and he comes over. He's like, "Dude, what is going on?" I'm like, threw something off my desk. I was pissed. And then he goes, "Dude, it's $1,000 a month." He goes, "I'm not trying to be an ass, but it's one policy." I was like, "Huh." And I was like, then I got mad that I was mad about it because the money does go to my kids. So I got more frustrated that I was mad over one policy, roughly, than I was mad about paying. You know what I mean? Like I had a reality check in that moment too.
Yeah, that's
I'm like,
so good, man.
I'm like, why am I mad over paying more for my kid? Who cares who I make the check to? Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
It's for my kids.
Yeah, and then it's like, are you deep down? Are you really just mad because you don't have the thousand to
Yes.
get, or like you can't get the
Yes.
thousand, right?
And then I started getting mad that I didn't do what it took to get $1,000 and not have it bother me. I got mad at myself.
Exactly.
And I remember that day, man. I share this all the time. I still get emotional when I say it because it like changed my world. I was like, dude, I'm gonna go make so much mother effing money that I'm never gonna worry about $1,000 again in my life. And dude, everything that day changed. And I had flashbacks to the warehouse and the accounting job. And I had spent the first 2 years, man, really trying to figure out. And I have to preface this. I'm not saying you shouldn't get good at this stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't study. I'm not saying you shouldn't learn product. I'm not saying you shouldn't be good at the sales side. Please don't hear that when I talk next. I spent 2 years trying to get really good at everything and overthinking everything, and I was still living paycheck to paycheck. And I decided, dude, what if I just go do a bunch more and worry about getting good later? Just let me just go outwork everyone, and I'll get good another day. And I looked at my numbers, and I was like, if I just do the crappy amount of skill set I do now, and I do it X amount more, I mean, wouldn't my income follow? No matter
Mm.
what my skill set is, right? And I start looking at it, and I start thinking warehouse, right? In the warehouse, we had to punch an order number into the computer, and it would say you got 17 minutes to finish this order, right? And I'd have to go pick up 100 boxes, wrap it, and if you finish under, you get a score. If you're below 85% of that time, you get in trouble, right? So I started looking at it, and I'm like, let me look at my hours. And I'm running 10, 12 appointments a week, dude. And I have to be honest with myself. And I'm like, if I run 10 or 12, I'm sitting with 6 or 8. I don't spend an hour typically in the average house. So I'm like, dude, that's 6 or 8 hours sitting with a client. It doesn't take me a minute to make a phone call. I was making like 150 a week. So I'm like, 150 minutes, that's 2, 3 a couple hours. And I was barely recruiting, dude. I was doing a little bit, but I was talking to a few people a week. I'm like, all
Mm.
right, so maybe I spend an hour talking to people about recruiting. And I did the math, man, and I'm like, if I go time spent, and I'm in the field, I'm a field guy originally. I'm not opposed to anything y'all do today. I grew up in a business in the field. So if I spend an hour on average in each client's house, and I spend a minute making a phone call, and I spend, I don't know, 20 minutes doing a recruiting call, how do I get 40 hours doing those three things? Nothing else was going to count towards the 40 for me because school didn't count towards my 40 hours when I went to school after I was working. Overtime at the warehouse didn't count. You know what I mean? Like taking care of my kid, I still had to do the commute didn't count. I still had to do 40 when I got there. All the other crap no one cared about. I had to do 40 hours of the job. So I was like, for me, this job was sitting with clients, calling clients, recruiting people. And so my numbers became if I book 30, I would sit with 20. So 20 sits on average over the course of the year. It's going to average out ish for me. So that's 20 hours a week sitting with clients for me. 600 phone calls at a minute a dial. You people that don't do math, I apologize. It's just 10 hours. It's not that deep. If you dial one a minute for 10 hours, 600 phone calls. So I was going to do that many phone calls a week. And then I was going to do 30 recruiting calls. Again, if you got 3 an hour, it's 10 hours doing recruiting calls. And that's how I was going to get my 40 hours and all the studying, all the questions, all the analytics, all the coaching, all the help, and all the other stuff That was going to be the equivalent in my world of overtime and night school, because that's all I knew.
Mm.
So March of
Hold
2015.
on, John. Hold on, because that's so good. There's some wisdom in there that you have to unpack. And he was like, all the other stuff, the commute, the studying, having to go up and pick your kids. It's like, even if you worked a physical job or like a normal 9 to 5 job, like you still have to put in the 40 hours outside of that. Right. Even if you had to leave early, you still owe
Always
them an
did.
hour. Whatever it was, the commute didn't count. Right. And I was like, that's so good, man. You still had to put in the 40 hours, right? No matter what else you had going on.
And when I wanted to get better at my career, I had to do that outside of work.
Mm,
It's not like I could stop doing my job and study accounting while I was doing my job.
right.
Bro, I had to go to school at night and pay for it to get better at accounting. They didn't let me do it on the job. So some of y'all that hang up your phone calls and you start looking up underwriting guides and watching phone script videos instead of like that ain't helpful. I know in the moment it feels it because I did it too. And all I'm saying is, dude, has it got you anywhere? Now, if it's working for you, keep doing it. But a majority of people, it ain't working for, And I had to be real with myself. And I had to stop lying to myself that the one thing that frustrates me, dude, at every event I go to, I ask people to raise their hand if they're full time. And most of the people raise their hand if they're full time. And then I give this example of hours per appointment, phone call, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how many of y'all run the equivalent of 30? And if you do something else, just make it work for common sense. Make it work. I'm like, how many of y'all run this many appointments? Dude, like 98% of the hands go down. And you find out people are doing what I was doing. They're running 8, 10, 12 appointments a week, very inconsistently. They're not buying leads consistently. Their dial sessions are super inconsistent. And I'm like, you say you're full time, but do you really sit back? Like if your hours were audited, and they should be audited by yourself because you know what you're really doing. If there was like an all out audit on the number of hours you actually did your job, are you really full time, dude? And bro, I've spoken at tons and tons and tons of events. Bro, about every insurance agent out there is part time. It
Mm.
just they define full time as this being the only thing they do. If this is all you do, that don't mean it's full time. You can have one part time job. You know what I mean?
So yeah, so after you get done having that conversation, you realize that the equivalent of the money generating activities that you're doing is part time.
It was 15 hours for me. That's
Mm,
what it added up to when I did that math. And
wow.
I'm like, and again, I didn't make terrible money that year. It just was really inconsistent. And I wasn't, you know what I mean? My life
Yeah.
didn't change.
Yes.
I
Okay.
looked at
So
it
tell the
like,
Mark Mead story. That's one of my favorite stories.
you know that
Come on.
story, huh?
Yes, I love it.
So yeah, when I talked about the meeting, the convention, people speaking on stage, dude, Mark was one of them. He was one of the people I was really attracted to. His personality, his style, I like. He's a powerful speaker. He was killing. He has a good story. He was like 150 grand, 200 grand in debt or something like that, and turned it around in like 18 months. Him and I are great, great friends to this day. But it's at FFL's first convention. He's been the main speaker every year, very first speaker every year. But he's up there speaking, doing his thing, and he's teaching on leads and appointments, leads and appointments, leads. That's all that matters, leads and appointments. So I get to meet him for the first time. We don't know each other. I go up. I'm like, hey, dude, can I ask you a question? Appreciate the info. Da da da. I'm like, well, what kind of leads? He was like, bro, did you just like not hear me talk? It's leads and appointments. It's leads and appointments. I know about how many, what time, what area, what time do you book them? How far apart do you book them? He's like, bro, it's just leads and appointments, dude. And he calms down a little bit and he starts asking me some questions. And he asked me how many appointments I run. I was like, I don't know, 10 or 12 a week. And if y'all know Mark Mead, I know you work with a lot of FFL guys. If you don't, look him up, follow him. Again, one of my favorite people on earth. Mark has a very distinct laugh, and it's loud. And he did it to my face when I told him I was running 10 or 12 appointments a week. And he asked me straight up, dude, he was like, why do you expect my results with your work ethic? I was like, solid question, dude. I don't know the answer. So I was a little stunned at the time. We exchanged phone numbers. I texted him a couple days later because I wasn't smart enough in the moment to ask. I was like, how many appointments do you run, bro? And he texted me back and he said 90 plus 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 every month. And I was like, got it. I ain't no Mark Mead sales wise at the time. I still don't think, but I did not feel like I could sell like Mark. I said, all right, 30 a week, 120 a month. I'll never miss 120 a month. It's 1,500 a year. I can get no showed 500 times that year, sit 1,000 people, close 25% of them, make 250. That was my strategy going into 2015. I was literally going into it going, dude, I'm going to get no showed a third of the time. I'm going to miss 75% of the sits, and I'm going to make 250 grand. I don't give a
Mm.
rip, And I messed up and issued 460, and
Tripped in the 460, huh?
yeah, I got good, man. You
Yeah.
start doing a bunch,
Yes.
you get good
So,
at some stuff.
which is funny, which is what I want to transition into, which is the way you get good at something. They say you learn twice as much from doing as you do from sitting in the classroom at minimum, right?
Yeah,
And again, you became a master of your craft because you did so much. When that just comes down to practice, right? So if you practice, right, we're talking about practice, right? That's how
yeah,
you become a master. And mastery is you
yeah,
begin to effortlessly execute without the use of conscious resources because you've done so many appointments. And
yeah,
so most agents don't really get good at sales. It's just like, they get caught up in the lead game. And I
yeah.
posted something last week and you commented on it, which I know you watch a bunch of stuff, but you always say, you kind of skim through and look, but you actually commented on it. And I was talking about the agent that finally figures out the lead thing, right? Gets the return, and then instead of like doubling down and going all in with it, like you said, they spend their time trying to get an incremental increase on going
Yeah.
from $10 a lead to $5 a lead, and then they lose the 10x return because they're focused on the
Correct.
wrong thing, right? Because
Okay.
leads are the lifeblood of the business, but that's just the first step. It's the first step. Then you got to get good at sales, right?
Yeah.
So talking about the sales, first and foremost, I'm curious on what made you comment on that, or what stood out to you, because that's one of the things I've been trying to drive home is like, don't get
Man,
caught up majoring in the minors.
I think people's thought process is messed up. I'm gonna give you another example. Don't let me forget it. It's about multiple duplicate leads. Don't let me forget, because I might stay off track if I don't answer your question. I think your post was something about saving a few bucks, generating your own lead,
Yeah.
right? That's post you're talking about. Yeah. So I'm just gonna make up numbers because whatever they are, they are. If you're getting a lead, say I'm buying a lead from you for $20.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, I'm paying Arturo $20 a lead. But man, I bet I could do what he did. I bet I can get my lead cost down to 15 if I just do blah, 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 blah. I'm like, I'm buying 100 leads a week, right? Even if I get it down $500, I'm like, I'm going to spend and I'm going to in the time it will take me to learn how to do what you do because you're skilled at what you do, generating lead. You've done that for a while. For me to get to your level of skill set, trial and error, messing up, it's going to take me some time. I'm like, imagine how many more appointments I could book if I just bought your leads and didn't mess with Facebook or whatever, lead gen. You know, I'm, I'm like, so you might save a couple buck, $2, $3, $4, $5 a lead, but dude, you're going to miss out on thousands of dollars in AP every week messing with something that you don't need to do. And I'm like, I'd rather you make money, get me leads quick, and let me go make money doing what I do. And I think people's thought process is backwards on it because they look at like, but I'm saving X amount of lead, but they don't take into account what they're losing. And I think it's because they don't touch it and feel it. It's not, you can't grab it. You know what I'm saying? So I think they just look at it backwards. And, I remember thinking backwards about some stuff. I'm gonna give you another example, and it seems really relative to what we're talking about. I had a manager, a good buddy of mine, text me yesterday, and he says, hey, this lead source, he goes, I think you're just going to tell me. He always prefaces with, I think this is
He
the
already
answer.
knows the answer to the question that he's about to
Yeah,
ask you, and he just wants to run it by you.
yeah, correct. Which I ain't mad at. I don't judge him for it. I used to do stuff like that too. Like, hey, am I tracking? I think he just wants to know if he's tracking.
Right.
We're on the same page, thinking the same. So he says, I think your answer is going to be to turn off the lead source. But the agent calls me, they order X amount of leads from this joint over here, and and they get a lot of duplicates. And they're different lead number IDs. So they're not like an exact duplicate. It's just the same person filled out another lead and they sold it to him again at the same price. So the agent's frustrated that they're paying twice or three times in this particular sale. This day, he had like 9 appointments. And I think four of them he had received the lead at least twice, one of them three times before. So he's like, lead is whatever it is. I don't remember the cost. Again, let's just pretend it's a $50 mail lead. I don't
Right.
know that 50 bucks. So he paid 150 bucks for Arturo's leads.
Right.
And he's pissed. He's wanting credit. He's wanting to complain. I thought they're exclusive. I'm like, dude, exclusive doesn't mean like Arturo goes to their house and forces them to throw all the other papers away. They're allowed to fill out more than one Facebook ad, lead mailer, whatever it is. Like, you can't stop that ever. So there's only so much exclusivity in our world, no matter what. And I sent him a voice memo. I should probably play it for you. It'd be funny. I said, dude, here's how I used to look at that. Man, when I got a lead in a second time, I was fired up because that meant you really wanted insurance. And I got both of them as opposed to another agent.
Mm.
In this case, he got three. I said, let me ask you a question, dude. If someone sends in three leads, they're probably buying insurance. Fair? He's like, yeah. I said, all right. You have a choice. You can pay 50 bucks for one lead, and Arturo gets a lead, and I get a lead. And all three of us battle this client for who they're going to buy from. Or I give you the option to spend an extra $100. My lead and Arturo's lead go away, and for 150 bucks, you get to go to their house and sign them up. Which one are you choosing? He's like, bro, I'd pay if I knew they were buying. I'm like, isn't three leads knowing they're buying? Like, isn't it the same thing? And to have an extra $100 where I don't have to compete with two other agents, I'll pay that all day long and twice on Sunday, as they say.
Well, you know what's funny about that? Because I work with a lot of agents, and people, and my fee isn't cheap. It isn't the cheapest, but again, if you're the cheapest, nobody expects you to be the best, and if you're the best, nobody expects you to be the cheapest.
Yeah,
And for me, like, I pride myself in the quality of the things
yeah,
that of the agents that I work with the leads that they get. Right, some of the things you can't control. But
yeah,
persistency is really phenomenal. The people that they're helping actually are interested in, they want to buy insurance, right? At the end of the day, the cost
yeah.
per lead isn't the most important thing. It's, are you making the sales, the return, right? So again, when you're saying that, and that's what I try to explain to agents too, it's like, don't get caught up in the leads thing. At the end of the day, right? Like, you don't want to just be digging a hole. You want to be digging a hole as a purpose that this is going to turn into a pool, right?
Correct.
This pool is going to ultimately add value to the
Yeah,
the house, right? It's going to add value to the house. So that's why I'm doing the work. Don't just do the work. What are we doing? We're just digging this hole. So my whole point to that is you want to make sure that the outcome is the desired outcome. And if that's, then who cares what you got to do? It's like, just get it done.
yeah. So my house is, and I'm thinking of a really stupid analogy because I like to do that and mess with people right now. I'm getting a house. My house is being built right now, and they poured the walls yesterday for the foundation or whatever. And I'm thinking, as you're saying this, I'm like, imagine if the builder and the guys that do the walls, have you ever seen walls poured and how they do it? Dude, it's nuts. It's like
Yes.
it's like the hardest job on the entire project, the builder told me. The process of like putting the metal thing, the pole, whatever the hell they're called, rebar, whatever it's called,
Yeah.
and doing walls, and they got to put up this form. It's, dude, we've been watching. It's nuts. I know nothing about this world. So I'm watching it. He's like, dude, this is the hardest part of the project. And once that happens, it starts going quicker. But I'm like, imagine if the builder came to me and like what they do, it's hard, so they cost a lot. Like this pouring a wall is expensive, bro. It's a lot of money. Can you imagine if this builder came to me and he's like, yo, I'm gonna have the plumbers pour your wall because they're cheaper. I'd be like, yo, you're fired. That's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. You know what I'm saying? And kind of that's how I feel when people try to do something they don't do to save a buck or two. You know?
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on the agents that has the CRM and the lead gen side hustle? Well,
Dude,
that's
I'm
kind of
not
what they're
saying it's
doing.
all or nothing thing. You know what I mean? I just I don't know, dude. My question would be: is that dude making as much on the sale? And here's my thoughts.
That's what I would ask. The question that you were about to ask would be the same thing. If I was an agent, I would ask, how much money are you making off of using this for yourself?
Correct. And for me, is it as duplicatable as what we do? Because I wanted everything I did to be duplicatable. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? So even if it works for me, let's just pretend it works for me and it works really good. And I save $5 a lead and I net more money this year than last year. Let's just pretend. Dude, can the next guy really do that? Can I really scale a business that way? Or do I then get into the, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, dude. I just, for me, I wanted to be really good at the thing I'm good at and drive deep with it and duplicate it over and over and over again. I didn't want to get into a position where I had to essentially learn a new career. Dude, I'm definitely smart enough to learn how to run Facebook ads. I love you, dude. It ain't that deep.
No, it just takes
Like
time.
you're good at it because you've done it for a while. But I'm sure I could figure it out.
Yeah, 100%.
I could probably watch a few YouTube videos, but what would that do? It'd take away time from all the other stuff I'm doing. And to be honest, dude, I'm a big fan of other people making money from my money. I like it. Dude, if you start cashing my checks, you're definitely going to help me more. Fair?
Yeah,
If I'm spending money
100%.
with you, it's probably going to be a different relationship. I'm okay with that. So I'm not mad at the dude who has a side hustle. More power to him. There's some that do it. If it's working for you, great. Just the question is, are you where you want to be with it? And I know that an overwhelming majority are not. And if you are and you're an anomaly and it's working well, we're not talking to you. You know what I mean? Keep
Right.
doing you. There's always that bell curve. There's always far ends of either side of it. But I'm
Yeah.
talking in the majority, that whatever that 68% or whatever the number is, that in that middle of that, I think we're more talking to them, you know?
Yeah. So on that note, right, which is getting good and like being a master at your craft, it's like what are the things that you think the agents should be focused on if they're not where they want to be and they want to be doing 10K a week, they're doing 10K a month. Like what are some of the things that they should be focused on, right, that are gonna get them to that goal? So if you were sitting John down, right, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, it was like, if you want to hit this, here's what you should do. If you
Yeah.
come to me and you're not hitting your goals, I'm going to
Yeah.
show you this paper right here. Here's what you should be focused on.
Yeah. I would first probably not probably. I would first 100% ask questions, and this is going to be very case by case. So I'm gonna probably talk to myself, to be real. But I would definitely want to first know what you're willing to sacrifice, because
Mm,
what you're doing now ain't working. So we got to change some things. If you think that I'm going to give you some magical words that are going to make you triple your income today, and you keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, I'm not that guy. I don't know how to do that. So for me, it's for a temporary period of time. We need to sacrifice, because again, if you look at what you're producing now relative to what you want to produce, you're going to have to do more. I hope there's no confusion on that. There's again, you know what I'm saying?
right. This is going to take more effort. You're going to have to if you want
Yeah.
more out, you're going to have to put more in.
And dude, I love the people who say work smarter, not harder. I love you all. Like, dude, if it were that simple, everyone would just like click a thing and be smarter and produce 3 times. It doesn't work that way for 99.9% of people, including me.
Right.
So, we have to change some things. So I would really dive into their schedule, their thought process, they're willing. Everyone wants to make the money, but not everybody's willing to sacrifice. And one of my favorite quotes, and one day I'll learn who I stole it from, because it's definitely not mine. So if you put the clip out there, put this part in there, because I did not come up with this, but I love it. And it's, if you're not willing to sacrifice for what you want is what you will sacrifice.
Mm.
So you
Hold
have to
on. I got
decide.
to drop the horn for that one. Yes. Those
So
are the
again,
facts right there.
not unique to me, but I believe in that with everything I got, you know. So I think that's what I find most agents is, they say that most people, not even agents, humans, they say they want X, but they're not willing to give up Y to get X. And I don't know that path. I had to give up a lot to get where I'm at. Now it's not forever. It's not permanent. I get to do everything with my kids today that I want to do. As you know, we're working on some stuff. I'm like, yo, I ain't missing Maddox's football. I'm
Right.
sorry. I'm not doing it. And I did it for a while. But dude, I don't have to do it today. And if something's major going to change the trajectory of my business, I'll miss stuff still to this day. I'm okay missing things, but I get to pick and choose. So I always preface with that. So I try to find out where people are at, where they want to go, and more importantly, what they're willing to sacrifice in the middle. Because without that sacrifice, dude, it's going to be tough. You know, next thing I'd say is probably audit, like for real, how much work you do week in, week out, day in, day out,
Mm.
and count the real stuff. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to your spouse. Don't lie to your family. Like watching this video, sure it'll help, but it shouldn't count towards what you do every week. There should be a bare minimum. I do this many phone calls. I do this many door knocks. Whatever y'all do to be productive and make money, you have to have markers. And if you know how many agents, how many of y'all watching this don't track your stuff? I'm like, I'm sorry, what? How on earth are you going to fix it or improve it or know if you're on pace or doing well or not well if you don't track anything? And I'm a spreadsheet nerd. I can put it in and run numbers and do all kinds of stuff. Dude, if that's not you, grab a napkin, get a green crayon, and write it down. Like it doesn't have to be deep, but you should know how many phone calls you make every week. You should know how many clients you see. You should know how many missed sales you have. Like, I don't understand how you don't know this stuff. You ever drive through Chick-fil-A? Dude, every Chick-fil-A in the drive-through, a lot of them have it to where the customer can see it. How many customers went through drive-through today? I was in Dunkin' Donuts yesterday showing my kids, and they had like how many today, how many this week, how many this month, how many clients come, and if they're on track or not. Like, this is just business 101, like page one.
Right.
Tracking your stuff and setting minimums should be part of your everyday life. And then again, we could tweak and adjust things from there based on whatever factors, whatever you got going on, family wise, kid wise, income wise, job wise. You know what I mean? Like, you got to build around that stuff. But the reality of people not having time, or if you're one of those, I'm so busy. I'm like, yo, pull up your phone and look at your screen time right now. Tell me how many hours are there. I bet they're obscene. Every phone I
Insane.
pick up, you know what I mean? Pick up your phone and look at how many phone calls you've made this week. What does that look like? And this is what I did to myself, dude. So I would start there. And then we can certainly get into the skill set side. I mean, I can help with skill sets. I can tell you how to sell better. But what I always preface with, if you keep doing what you're doing today, you're not going to have like a massive diff change if you say what I say today. You know what I mean? Like, you're still going to be timid. You're still going to be fearful. You're still going to have doubts. It's going to come out different. When you start seeing a large number of people, man, you start to get this level of confidence. You speak different. Your body language is different. All that goes into sales. If you're worried about paying your light bill this weekend and you're on the phone versus me on the phone, let's pretend we have the same skill set. And I ain't worried about paying my light bill. I sound different and I book more appointments.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So we got to get through that stage, and reps does that, and it's going to be hard, man. You're going to mess up. You're going to you're going to fail. You're going to make mistakes no matter what you do in life. So I think understanding that and being willing to go through that period where it's hard, it's very easy to relate like your health to that, man. You're telling me, fair to say, if you walk in any store outside, see human beings, the overwhelming majority of people are out of shape. Fair.
100%.
Do you
Especially in
really think?
Tennessee where I live. It's it's
Yeah, buddy.
it's it's bad.
All right. You think I could ask 100 people that are out of shape? Hey, what's it take to get in shape? Fair to say, like 99% of the answers are going to be the same.
Yeah, they all know exactly what they need to do.
Correct. So I don't believe that y'all don't know what to do here either. I don't believe it. Now, if you're trying to get Mr. Olympia, do I think there's some working out things you probably don't know? Yes. If you're trying to make $1 million, is there some stuff you don't know? Yes. But dude, if you're just trying to get past the crappy spot you're in now, you're telling me you don't know the answer is I have to work more and buy more leads and make more phone calls and see more clients? I don't buy it, dude.
Yeah. And you know
You
what? I'm
know?
having a revelation from what you're saying too, which is very interesting because it like the things that you're saying. So okay, so that's I'm a super nerd too. So there's 4 levels of learning. The first
Mhm.
one is the tactics, and the next one is the strategies. The third one is the principles, which is what you're talking about, and then the fourth one is the essence and the character, which is what you end up holding yourself accountable to, your character change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the first thing you have to do is start operating from the principles. And I'm listening to you, and I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter what script you have, it doesn't matter what product you have, if you don't change the way you behave, you're not willing to sacrifice some things, and then you don't have a commitment that know that you're gonna have to do more. It doesn't matter what else you do. You like if you don't change, like Jim Rohn says, in order for things to change, you got to change. So if you don't sacrifice and then be willing to commit to do more work, then it doesn't matter what training you have. It doesn't matter what scripts you get. You got to
And
be willing to change.
if I give you the perfect way to do a bicep curl, and you go to the gym once a week, what's it going to do? Right? If I give you the exact way to hit a golf ball, dude, out of the mouth of Tiger Woods, I bring him to your house and he actually holds your hand and shows you how to hit a golf ball the perfect way, like he did at the Masters, however many times. And you play once a month, once a week. Does it matter? You know what I'm saying? And people understand this in every other aspect of life. Like my kid, if Maddox is in football and baseball right now, do you practice it? We're at practice every day. There's something every day between the two of them. Can you imagine if Maddox just wanted to sit down and watch baseball videos and then show up to the tournaments? Would he be any good ever?
Never.
Never. It doesn't matter. He could watch every Hall of Famer ever, speak to him on video, show him every tutorial, how to hold the grip, how to do it, how to do it. If he doesn't get out there and do it, bro, he's never going to play. You know, and I wish people would stop pretending they don't understand that piece.
That in fact is a principle. Again, you made it apply to so many other things, which is what I'm talking about. That's just a principle, right? It's a cause and effect thing, right? Right. The more you put in, the more you're gonna get out. That's just very interesting. And so, man, we could go on and on for days about that. And I know we got to wrap this up, but just and you saying that just gave me another way to communicate the same thing. I'm like, oh, this is what I'm trying to get across. It's like, if you don't like, if you leave insurance and you go and sell real estate, or you go and sell Cutco knives, it doesn't matter what it is. If you take that same work ethic and that same mindset into the other thing, you're going to get the same result too. So it really comes down to your willingness to sacrifice and commit to working harder than what you're already doing.
It's true.
And you're saying that if you have somebody like that, you can help them make a bunch of money.
Yeah, for sure. Because then the skill set part's the easy part, to be honest.
Dope. Well,
yeah.
Man, you dropped some bombs. Man, I can't wait to have you here in Nashville. We're gonna have a phenomenal time at the end of September, just to go deeper on this, because like that just expanded my mind. It's like, oh, this is the message here. It's like, sacrifice and commitment, right? So, anyways, man, dude, dropping some straight gems. John, if people want to get more content like this and kind of follow you, where can they find you?
I'm personally mostly on Instagram and Facebook. I have all the platforms, website, which I'm working on. I'm texting Cody right now, funny enough. And I have a really crappy link tree for a website, but it links to all my stuff, johnwetmore.com. You can get to it all. He's helping me work on that. But Instagram, Facebook, look me up. I'm not hard to find at all. It's John Wetmore 347 on Instagram. Hit me up if you got questions. But I ain't that hard to find, dude. And
yeah, for sure.
Definitely looking forward to coming to see you in Nashville. And I know we talked about getting into sales stuff, but I can't help myself. We can definitely do it though. I actually do know how to.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, guys, again, we got your OG is what I call him, right? He just he knows more than he has forgotten more than most people know. But John, again, man, it's great to have you on the podcast, the Rainmaker himself. Thanks for being on the show, brother.
My dude, appreciate you.